In this video, I'm going to show you how to graph a function using Excel. Now, to graph a function using Excel, it's going to be very similar to how you would graph on your graphing calculator, the TI-83 or TI-84. So the problem that we're going to look at is this particular example that I gave you in a handout earlier of the function that represents the profit of a manufacturing company. Note that your independent or input value is n, which represents the number of footballs measured in thousands. The output value, or the dependent variable, is p, which is profit, also measured in thousands of dollars. It's important to note here that they tell us this formula is valid up to a level of 20,000 footballs. This particular problem gives us our x-min and our x-max. Our x-min is 0 number of footballs, because it does not make sense to talk about negative number of footballs. And we're going to take it up to a level of 20. So our x-max is going to be 20,000 footballs. Let's go ahead and go to Excel and create a nice graph. In order to create a graph in Excel, you have to define your input variable and your output variable. And you actually have to type in a couple of values for your independent variable and some values for your dependent variable. So we need some numbers here that represent points so that Excel can actually graph those points and give us a nice curve. So let's begin. In Excel, your first column is usually going to be the independent variable. In this particular problem, that's n, the number of footballs. The second column is always going to be your dependent variable, which in this problem is P, profit. So let's title our columns N and P. To start typing in some numbers for N, you have two options. You can either manually type in the numbers. So I can sit here and go 0, 1, 2, 3, and go all the way down to 20. But that might take too long. So my second option is to have Excel do it for me. And Excel can also type in all those numbers for me and skip count by whatever increment it is that I wish. So for this particular problem, since I need it to go up to 20, I'm going to pick a factor of 20 that's going to be a nice number to skip count by. So I'm going to pick 2. To tell Excel to skip count by 2, you're going to start by using the equal sign. So I'm going to move my cursor to column A, row 3, and start by typing in the equal sign. I want Excel to take 0 and add 2 to it to give me the next number, which is 2. Then instead of typing in the number 0, take your mouse and click on column A, cell row 2, because that cell represents the number 0, and now type in plus 2. Press enter. I've typed in a formula to ask Excel to skip count by 2 for me, starting at 0. Notice there's a little square here. Take your mouse, move it over the square, and drag it to copy that formula down. I'm going to drag it down a little bit until I think I'm hitting 20. Okay, so I went a little bit too far, but that's okay. I could just go in and delete these extra values. Excellent. Now that I have some numbers for my independent variable, I'm ready to figure out what my output values are. So here I'm trying to figure out what's the profit when I don't make any footballs, or what's the profit when I make 10,000 footballs, or what's the profit when I make 20,000 footballs. To get those output values, what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate this equation at those different n values. And you can do this manually, but that will take a very long time. Or you can have Excel do all the work for you. So again, let's go ahead and tell Excel to find those output values for us at these various input values. Again, always start by using the equal sign. And I'm going to type in the equation. So here, just like on your graphing calculator, we're going to define the function. So let's go ahead and type in the equation. Negative 180 plus 100 times, and the multiplication symbol is the asterisk symbol on your keyboard, times. Now you're probably going to want to type in n. However, we are not going to type in n because we want Excel to actually calculate that value. So we want Excel to take 100 and multiply it by n when n is 0. right? And notice that this number n changes every time we go down each row. So we don't want to type n in. What you're going to do is actually take your mouse and move it over to the cell that represents that n value and just click on it. Okay? So A2 represents that number 0. Let's continue typing in the equation. Minus 4, again, it's going to be times n squared, but I'm going to use times, and instead of typing in n, I don't want n, I'm going to click on this cell again, A2. To raise it to the second power, you're going to use the caret symbol, and then 2. Now, we've defined the function, we're ready to press enter. Notice that Excel calculated the value for us. If I don't make any footballs, the company is going to have a profit of negative $180,000. Take your mouse, move it over the cell, and drag on that little square to copy this formula all the way down to our last value. Excellent. Now that I have some input values and some output values, I've got several points here where Excel can graph and connect with a nice curve to give me a beautiful graph. So to do this, if you have a Mac computer, on your Mac computer you can click on Charts here, which will take you to this scatter. If you have a PC computer, you will be able to find this tab Charts under the Insert tab on your tool menu. So go to your tool menu and click on Insert, and when you click on Insert, it'll show you a tab for Charts. Once you click on Charts, you can choose Scatter. So let's go ahead and choose Scatter. Before we actually can create a scatter plot though, what we need to do is highlight our independent variable. If you have a Mac computer, once you highlight the first column, take your left hand and hold the Command key down. Then take your mouse and highlight the second column. If you have a PC computer, what you're going to do is highlight the first column and hold the Control key button down. Once both columns are highlighted, go to Charts and insert your scatter plot. We're going to choose this third chart right here, which is Smooth Line Scatter. Excellent. We have a beautiful graph here. Right? Even though this graph looks really nice, it's missing a title and some labels. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is click on your Chart Quick Layouts and choose this first option here where you can title and label your axes. So I'm going to click on that, and let's title this Profit. Click on this box here, and let's label the y-axis. Remember, y is represented by profit. And always include your unit of measure, which was in thousands of dollars. Let's label the x-axis. This was number of items, also measured in thousands. Okay, this little legend here, you don't really need it. You can just highlight it and delete it. The other thing that you might want to do here is you might want to fix your x-axis. Notice that Excel auto-fixed it to go all the way up to 20, but we really only need it to go to, 25, but we only need it to go to 20. And also Excel auto-set it to skip count by an increment of 5 units. You might want to change this. For this particular problem, maybe skip counting by 5 is too much. Perhaps we might want to skip count by 2. So to do this, what you're going to do is take your mouse and hover it over one of these numbers and left click until a rectangular box pops up. Okay, once this rectangular box pops up, take your mouse and leave it inside the box and right click. When you right click, you can go down here and choose Format Axis. When I format my axis, I'm going to go to my scale here, and notice that it's auto set to go up to 25. I'm going to fix this, and I'm going to change it and take it down to 20. Also, notice here that it's skip counting by 5. I'm going to change this and tell it to skip count by 2. Press OK. Notice that my x-axis here changed. Okay, it looks a lot nicer. The other thing that you can do, and this is optional, is you can change the width of this. It's a little bit too thick for me, so I'm just going to click on it and go to my Format tab and just change the weight and just make it a little bit thinner. And you can also change the color too if you want, but that's if you want to get fancy. It's not really necessary. Now I have a beautiful graph of my function for profit. We've got a nice x-axis, x-min from 0, x-max to 20. It looks beautiful. And once you're happy with your graph, you're ready to copy and paste it into your Word document. So to do that, just take your mouse, right-click, and copy, and then go to your Word document and right-click and paste. There is your graph. Okay? If you want to make it smaller, you can always click on it and drag and make it smaller. Oops. Or drag on it and make it bigger. It's completely up to you. Okay? So I hope that you have found this helpful, and if you have any questions, please don't be afraid to email me.